What's up? Yeah. My focus is turned on this one. What's up, everybody? How are you doing today? It's an awesome Friday, and we're doing stuff a little different today. Brad and I are just going to be on one camera today because something happened to Drew. It's so sad. He just had to go to a doctor's office appointment. And I'm not sad because of that. I'm just sad because he's not here. But we got some fun stuff to talk about today on What's in the Box.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
So, yeah, we are back to one single camera today because we don't have a camera operator. Technically, I'm the camera operator, I guess. And Brad is watching the comments and all that kind of stuff. But what we're doing today is we're just hanging out, having a good time talking to you guys about fun stuff. It's officially August now, so that's weird. Yeah, this year is going by fast. But yeah, as you can see below some little scroller, just keep your eye on that because you guys get free t-shirts just by talking to us, engaging, bringing up subjects, answering questions, asking questions, whatever. So we'll choose people to get free t-shirts. But yeah, if you give us a topic to talk about at all, have a question, you're going to get a free t-shirt. And we'll hit you up in the DMs. We're going to slide right in, get your shipping address, your t-shirt size, get it right out to you. But yeah, this is very close setup. Brad smells nice today.
Thank you.
Usually I don't get to smell Brad that often, and today I get to. But yeah, we are just gonna hang out with you guys. One single camera, kind of like old school. We could have done this like in my bedroom, like a 14-year-old kid would stream on Twitch. That's a possibility. You don't know this isn't our bedroom. We could be sleeping here. Sometimes I feel like we sleep here. We're here sometimes a lot of the time. So yeah, what's new, Brad?
It's Friday. We got some comments so far. Kingdom Ink Screen Printing said, "Good morning, gentlemen." And then he said, "Hallelujah." And then halftones.
Hallelujah and halftones. So we're going to be printing the word hallelujah in halftone? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Cool. You can do that. It's a possibility. Do you know what a halftone is? Why do you think they call them halftones anyway?
I don't know.
Because
it's not half of a tone.
No.
True halftone would be 50% of a color.
Example, sometimes we do what we call vintage printing, where you basically print the shirt without an underbase, or you print it with you thin out the ink on purpose. It doesn't lessen the quality of the ink. It's actually softer. But example, if you take a white ink and you put similar to, let's call it a paint thinner, even though we're not printing with paint, it's ink, it thins it out. And you could see through that white ink onto whatever shirt you're doing. So it might be white in the screen or when we see it, but when we print on the shirt, if you printed a rainbow of shirts, you would have almost like a watermark effect. I don't know if you would call it a watermark, but it's a tonal effect. In theory, a halftone or a down tone, if you will, or a portion of a tone. So white on a red shirt would probably emulate some sort of pale white leaning toward pink. Royal blue, you get like a sky blue. Black, you get more of a gray look. So this isn't halftones. To me, if you didn't know about screen printing, to me that would be more relevant to what a halftone is. But what the question was about halftone is basically the technique of printing with dots to achieve a gradient effect, but with one color ink. So in the same situation, if you had a white print and it was halftone printed with little dots, more space between the dots, the more t-shirt would show in between the dots, thus giving the illusion of the t-shirt color mixing with the ink color. But that can also be done with two different inks, right? So I guess halftones, in theory, they'd be referencing the dots on the screen, I guess.
Yeah, all printers, anything that gets ripped, anything that gets converted into a raster, any printer is going to output it in dots. And halftone dots, they're stylized halftones and actual halftones. And what an actual halftone is when you decrease the opacity of a color inside a digital art space, send it through a rip, and the rip software interpolates the opacities into halftones.
Yes. You ever seen the meme of the guy in Jamaica with the bikini on and he's saying ripping and tearing?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Anyways, it's an old meme. It's an old video of a guy just living life on vacation. And but you're making, I don't know, when you said rip it, I was like, man, we should do a shirt that says ripping and toning.
Ripping and toning.
Ripping and half toning.
Ripping and tearing would also work too, because you get like tears is what someone would call like when you're outputting film and you have a rip error, it tears it.
Really?
Yeah, and you can get, I mean, tears happen in anything computerized really when something doesn't line up. Like if your axes are not aligned, something, it tears it. Like you get screen tear if you run a higher FPS or a resolution than your computer allows.
So if you've ever had that happen on your computer, you've been tearing it up.
Yeah, screen tears suck because if you turn left really quick, it's just like your screen just cuts out black. It's just a information process.
Yeah. Have you ever other tearing that can happen in our world? Just a screen pop.
Yep.
Like when a screen explodes. Sometimes I've heard it go off. I've heard it happen before. It sounds
like a shotgun.
like a shotgun. Yeah.
It's very loud. It's a lot of tension just ripping, suddenly with no warning.
Yeah, screen's kind of like a trampoline for that matter. Just like not just like a screen in your window at home. I don't know if you could actually print with one of those. You probably print with anything if you try hard enough and believe in yourself.
You could, like a 80, like if you print with like a 40 or a 36 mesh, that's basically a screen door. And for high opacity, like high viscosity, high opacity, and high definition prints, especially with glitter, you're going to be using a lot of very, very open mesh. Kingdom Ink also asks, what do you think of DTG and DTF over screen printing?
I don't think of the word over. I think of the word, think of them all like tools, right? Or a reason to use them. You have to remember in the screen printing industry, depending on the shop size and what they can do, what they want to do, it used to be back in the day, especially people would talk about minimums. What are your minimums for screen printing? And what happens is someone, first of all, you might disagree with me in this, but if your goal is to sell t-shirts and help people get that done, you can, from a strategic standpoint, say, look, let's only stick with screen printing. Let's only do orders that are 50 piece or more, 25 piece or more, or 1,000 or more, if that's what you want to do. Because there are definitely print shops who won't even touch a job unless it's 1,000 pieces, or you might want to say anybody who walks in this door, I'll do whatever they want. And then if you only have screen printing and you're only going to print one shirt, obviously that's an uncomfortable situation because you're going to got to figure out how to work out the pricing, and no one wants to pay hundreds of dollars for one shirt. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, setting up a job is in most cases the most expensive part of a screen printing job. They actually prepping it. I know sometimes that's the most of the time I think that goes into it. Like if you're doing a 7-color job on 100 pieces, I think, would you say it's fair to say how long is the 7 screen setup, even in our world, which we have a kind of an advanced setup?
The industry standard is 7 minutes per screen.
Now, if somebody's a one-man shop and he's doing light table,
14 to 21 minutes of screen if you got proper, if you're not using a trial. And, the more you do it, but it's way longer than 7 minutes.
Yeah. So it could take someone in that situation up to 2 hours plus just to prepare the job if they're a one-man operation kind of thing going on. And then you got to produce the shirts after you've made it all. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So if the customer's goal is to get a shirt, a singular shirt, or a few shirts, or something like that, you just have to decide for your business when does it come into play, and how do I want to incorporate it, and how do I want to say that I'm incorporating it? Because you might be the kind of person that says, look, my customers that I'm trying to brand myself to just want shirts made. They don't really care about the screen part of them. They don't care if they're digital. They just need a solution. Then you might have a pricing structure for one shirt all the way up to whatever, and never even talk about how it gets done unless they ask. Maybe that's what you want to do. But if you feel like you're the kind of place who wants to make that transparent, then you just give the customer the choice of what they want to get done or suggest to them. I know one of our, I guess you would say peers that in the industry that talks to us about stuff, they added the option to get screen printing or digital. I think it's more like they don't look at DTF and DTG as a separation. They just say digital or screen printing, and they show the price in both scenarios to the customer, and they choose what they want. So if it's a one color piece, it'd be like, hey, this is supposed to cost $200. It might be wise to go ahead and just get it for $20 or $25 or whatever the price is they're going to charge. So I think for me, it's more of a branding thing. What kind of company are you, and how you want to present yourself and use it as a tool. Brad, on the other hand, might have some insight on when to, what not to, what's better than when it comes to actual production. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, it all depends. I mean, whatever, all that you said is, I would consider it the truth of the matter. I don't think one's better than the other. Screen printing is faster. That is a benefit. And the production side of things, once you're, turning and burning. Digital is faster in, like if you got 7 colors to set up and print 100 pieces, it's going to be a lot easier on the front end to get that art into the software onto a shirt for one. Then the slowness happens when printing happens with digital. Especially if you go DTF and you're adding cutting and, heat pressing and all that good stuff. So screen printing in totality is quicker. But depending on your presses and whatever you have, if you're rocking 2 16 color presses or a huge oval press or something like that, you're way less limited than someone rocking a 4-color manual. So in those types of situations, if you only have, if you're limited in your tools, DTG or DTF will be a good solution for you.
And if you're asking also, for anybody who's thinking about getting in the screen printing industry or printing industry, or custom printed t-shirt industry specifically, you have to also remember that the most common thing that I find out from doing a lot of the conferences I speak at is that people don't take in consideration the cost of acquisition of a customer. Because if you think about it, if it costs about the same to advertise out to the world, if you're doing traditional advertise like paper, you're going to make the postcards, whether one of them is going to earn you back $100,000, while another postcard is going to earn you back 0 customers, and another one guy who's going to come in for one shirt for $20. So you have to look at how you're going to be doing your advertising, who you're going to be attracting, and putting out the ads for that. Because you're not going to be able to get into the industry, grab a machine of any kind, be it a DTF, DTG, or screen printing, and tomorrow start printing shirts. It's just that's not the way that really works. Because again, if it was a local bar, a local sports restaurant on the corner of a neighborhood where you know that you'll just pick up some drive-through, that retail space is what you're paying for that advertising, really. If you're like us and we're in a industrial park in right above Atlanta, no one's really driving by here looking for shirts. That's just the way it is. So we actually have salespeople. We have ads going out. We have content like this we're doing. We're just always out there communicating with people. And you have to look at the cost of doing so and realize if all you have is a DTG and that's all you're really focusing on, or DTF for that matter, that it will cost you potentially the same ish to advertise to get 1,000-piece order as a bunch of 1-piece orders. And that's something to really deal with. So we use DTG and DTF as a filler gap for the bottom half of it. In other words, we see a need when we put ads out there when we were just screen printing where people are like, hey, what if I don't need 50 or 100 shirts? And in the past, I'm like, man, I don't like the feeling of charging somebody that much for like 5 shirts. You know what I mean? So we have it as a solution to be able to say yes to more customers. And that's what it is. Some people will say, why do we even go after that kind of business at all for the small stuff? Because number one, I want to help people. I truly want to do that. We do retail quality printing. So it's our job to make as many people look like they belong in a retail setting as we can. That's like our vision and goal for a company. But also I believe that the more we help all the people, that's more wins in the market. That's more people saying, man, I love this company. They're a good company. And I think we've gotten way more customers from referrals than any other reason. So quick, fast story is when we started the company, I did a 50-piece band t-shirt order for somebody here in Atlanta, and they were really happy with what they got. About a week later, their dad called me, and he was in the contracting or roofing industry here in Atlanta, and he put in an order for something like 1,000 long sleeve t-shirts. And I was just pumped about getting a 50-piece order from a band, down the street. I didn't even know his dad did that. It's just somebody who found out about us or whatever the reasons were. But he called up and he said, hey, I love what you did with my son's t-shirts. But he was almost like, can you handle doing like landscaper style shirts or like roofing style shirts? Like he almost thought that like, can our presses print his logo because he thought we were more of only could do band stuff. I'm like, technically you do anything. It's a design on a garment. That's what it is. So anyways, he put in the order, and so that 150-piece order turned into a multi-1,000-piece order. Long sleeve shirts also cost a lot more, and you got multiple prints, including like the sleeve, I think. So yeah, you don't always know what's going to happen when you help somebody out. So if you just make your goal as a business, no matter who you are actually and what industry you do, to help people and to do the right thing and do the best by people as you can, don't be surprised if your business grows, because people do love to talk about who they work with. I think we've all related to that story where someone says, if Brad needs his brakes done in his car and I have had mine done, I'll be like, oh, you got to go see my guy down the street. He'll take care of you. But Brad might have a more expensive car, so then they make more money off of Brad in the long run. They don't care. They just want to help people make sure their brakes are good. So
yeah,
there's my advice for the day.
What is higher quality, DTG or DTF? That depends on what you get.
The problem I have with DTF specifically right now, and we've talked about this before in other ones, it seems to me that not all, but most companies, most brands that you know of or see at, say, a trade show or learn about the screen printing industry, it seems like they're all just getting their machine made by the same manufacturer, specifically in China. So we've noticed something like the guts of them, and sometimes even the shell that it's in,
it's all the same.
It's all the same. So what they do is they're just, a lot of these people are selling the exact same machine to the next guy, and then they're putting their graphics on it, which isn't a problem because we have screen printing presses. You can go buy some of our presses if you want. They're not ours, but the brands we use are the big screen printing presses. But the thing is that we get to choose the inks that are going into them. We get to choose who's running them and the technique that we've developed as a company and what's best for us. But in the DTF world, it seems like once you get a machine, your materials are set.
Well, any kind of digital production, you're dependent way more on static, standardized things. Especially with, print heads and all that stuff. There's no You can go swap out a squeegee for a different squeegee, a sharper one, a duller one, a softer one, a harder one, one with 2 blades. Yeah, like you said, the ink, the way that we do it, there's lots of variables in a craft. And I'm not saying there isn't variables and it is not a craft to do digital printing, but you are very much limited to what you're given in a lot of scenarios with that.
It seems like in digital that it's more about whoever's got the best conditions and doesn't, neglect. It's about diminishing down to, something like if someone's not taking care of their machine and doing all this kind of stuff, you're going to see a difference. If we both printed the same graphic on the same machine in 2 different places and 2 different minds of thinking about keeping up your equipment and how to print and how to cure it and how you're curing it. So screen print is kind of the same way, but there's just way more choices, it seems like, I guess is what we're trying to say, that we could put in some special sauce or some special technique into screen printing. But in the digital world, it's all about if you neglect the best way to do it, then it just seems to like fall apart more quickly. So therefore, you might see a visual difference. A lot of people don't know this, but you can save money. A company could save money in the digital world by lowering the out. You can choose like a print quality setting, but you can do that on your computer. So if you were to print a PDF right now, you can say print at the lowest resolution as possible or a lower resolution, and you would save some time. And you would, in the printing world, you would save some ink laydown. So you could actually say that you've got a better price. And if the uneducated buyer, which we all are on something at some part of our lives, but I mean, if you don't know what we're talking about, you could see somebody's got the same machine as somebody else, the same whole setup, same environmental conditions. One person's doing a lower quality rip that you don't know about, and the other person doing a higher quality rip that you don't know about. And if you were to hold them side by side, you would be able to tell the difference between this one and this one. But you might have in other words, the price difference you got might have saved you money, but you're not really sold on why it is. And then, which takes me back to the original comment about them all being the same machine. When I'm at these trade shows, a lot of these people that are selling these machines are saying that they have some advantage, that they're the number one printer, but they have the same printer as the guy in the next booth too. Just the graphics are different on the press that says your brand versus my brand.
Yeah,
and they couldn't tell you why.
No,
and I'm really big on that. If you're gonna like what we do with the best T-shirt ever, we talked about a couple weeks ago. We have a reason we say that. It's because it's your best T-shirt ever, not ours. It's a perspective shift. So it's all about your idea coming to life. We're here to help you get it done. We get excited about helping you guys make the best T-shirts ever. That's why we do what we're doing. And you don't hear that kind of messaging going on in the DTF world. So I guess the reason we're saying it this way is be careful in the DTF scene right now, because you don't really know where the differences are, because they don't exist a lot, because of everybody having a similar kind of setup with the different brand names. So it can be very confusing. We use Brother DTGs. I don't mind talking about that. Actually, I think it's a good thing to talk about. They make very reliable, what do they make? Sewing machines, typewriters,
copiers, faxers, printers, keyboard. I mean, they make everything.
Yeah, and they're and the word brother just feels right.
Yeah, brother.
Sure, brother.
The Mike Campus said, I got a vinyl cutter and was doing HTV for a bit, but I hate the feel and look compared to screen printing. Wish screen printing didn't have such a big footprint. That is very true.
Yeah, the our presses. I don't know if this is an accurate thing to say. When I have people that don't know anything about it, they're like, "So is your shop pretty big or anything like that?" I mean, I would say on a basketball gym, on the floor of what a basketball court is, I think it's safe to say two large screen printing presses and then a dryer going down the middle. Would you say?
Yeah.
But the thing is, a basketball court's going to be long. You know what I mean? So, it's just you're basically fitting really big circles into buildings that are rectangle. And anytime you put circles and rectangles together, you get a lot of gaps on the edges. Now they do make they call them oval presses, but to me they just look like a chainsaw. It looks like the ride at the fair, I think, called the Ripper. Speaking about ripping, the zipper, that's what it's called. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No.
Just imagine being stuck on a chainsaw tooth while spinning on the end of a chainsaw tooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it looks like to me. It looks all these things look like carnival rides. That's what everybody says when they walk in. They're like, it looks like
it's a carousel.
Like a carousel or a Ferris wheel. Is that what they call a Ferris wheel? The big guys that are circular like this?
Yeah.
Looks like that, but fell over. Or it looks like the zipper, the Ripper, the Ripper and the Terror.
Yeah. The actual base of a press is called a carousel.
I saw a video the other day where you know what the Ring of Fire is?
Yeah, I know what that thing
I
is.
saw a video where it broke and it took them something like 3-4 hours to get all the people off, and they were stuck upside down. And one person had to be hospitalized, I think, because of like lack of blood flow or something like that. I mean, imagine just hanging out upside down for a long time.
It would suck.
They were trying to figure out ways to get water up to people. It's just, yeah. So if you get stuck on one of our presses, at least you're at ground level, and we can help you. We can help you out. We can help. I don't think we've ever had an employee stuck in the press, so that's good.
No, they'd be dead.
It's like get chopped up in the blades. So, anyways, so that's what we're doing with these big old presses. The footprint is pretty big on these things. But you're talking about, the other option is I tell people always remember, if you have a 12 color press, in theory, that's like 12 humans standing around in a circle, which would look very ominous if we did it like at Bohemian Grove or something.
Yeah.
We should do it at night with just a candlelight in the middle and everybody wearing like Druid outfits and just everybody around a screen printing press. It was just night printing. It's just all it is, guys. This is just the way you print at night.
It's night printing.
Looks like a weird seance, like something from the movie The Witch, which is a fantastic horror movie, by the way.
That is a good movie.
So, yeah, any other ideas? And we'll send you guys some free shirts for asking that. We'll just have to mess you up. And by the way, if we owe anybody free shirts at all that we've said in the past, let us know, because we're coming up with a better and better way to do so. And we're doing our best. So,
Kingdom Ink said, which do you prefer to use, plastisol ink or water-based ink?
Well, it's case by case a little bit. I think, my favorite is still to this day, some of my favorite ones were under-based with discharge or water-based discharge and then plastisol on top. I like the way that some of the water-based, like lighter color shirts, like black ink look, the way the black looks. You know what I'm talking about? It has almost like a coal kind of black to it.
Yeah. It's not high solids.
Yeah, it's not high solids. Like, so yeah, what's your opinion on water-based versus plastisol?
My opinion is give me one color black ink, plastisol on white shirts. And I'm a happy camper.
And I'm opposite. I want a black shirt with white ink on it. I don't really, you know what? I care more about plastisol and the way it's cured, the way it's laid down. I guess that would have to do with, the mesh.
Well, that's because everybody, we use these big old rollers to flatten everything out when we print plastisol. Water-based and discharge, specifically discharge printing, if people don't, follow the wash care instructions, things can get bad really quick. Plastisol, it's a bit more forgiving in that aspect of people who don't, launder their clothes properly. And, realistically, I think that a lot of people, specifically you go to stores, Target, Walmart, anywhere really, it's just huge blocks of plastisol that are printed very poorly. They kind of look like orange peels.
Yeah, is that the sandpapery feel? Because there's some of them that almost feels like spiky.
Oh yeah, it's not proper off contact. And I could go into great detail about that, but basically think about it like if you take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and if you know stamp the bread on there and rip it up quickly, you're going to have peaks and valleys. And that's that orange peel. Like if you don't have proper off contact, if the screen is not releasing. So when you flood, the purpose of flooding a screen is to fill the little holes in the mesh with ink. You're loading the screen up with ink. When you do a squeegee stroke, you are, you're taking that ink and permeating it through that membrane that is, the mesh. And while you're doing that, proper off contact on M&R is like a 1/16 of an inch or something crazy like that. When you're stroking it, the screen needs to flex and release as it comes up. And if you do that, you won't have any peaks or valleys, but that requires proper off contact. So off contact is kind of like action on a guitar. You don't want, crazy, you're using more effort to do less work if you don't have the proper setup. So proper off contact, make sure that some people, if they have a big image, they'll stop the squeegee right at the end of it. And if you do that, even if you have proper off contact, in my humble opinion, from what I've seen over the years of me doing this, you're not giving the screen, especially if you're printing big blocks of white ink, you're not giving the screen enough time to snap out if it's that huge. Because, concentration of time, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I don't want to sound like a super nerd. So basically, if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, or if you don't have the proper setup, you're going to get really, really crappy plastisol prints. And we have done everything that we can do to make them smooth and cool and awesome. And so I think plastisol is a bad word in a lot of areas where people get an ego about it, but I just don't think they're taking enough time or investing enough money to do it properly.
Yeah, if you think about all printing, just like anything, can be a bad word. I mean, there's bad digital, there's bad screen printing, there's all these kinds of things. Some person could be like, oh, it's terrible because I don't like the feel of one over the other. That's a subjective thing. I mean, we have people who love digital stuff. We have people who ask to never, ever do digital. And that's just what it is. There's a little bit of a texture difference. They're all quality, though, if you do them right. They all have, and our job is to get the longest, I guess you would say, wearability time out of them, the best accurate print, the best color replication, and choose a brand of t-shirt that it's all going to like represent all that the best as well and stay on like a canvas. So, but yeah, I mean, someone who wears the same t-shirt every single day for a year versus someone who wears it once a month, that certain design, you're going to have two different t-shirts at the end of that year. So there's so many factors, including the one that the person who's wearing it. I think the person who's wearing it can affect it the most, really, by the end of the day, by the basis of how often you wash it and how you take care of it. And do you use it to like wipe your face off when you eat ribs,
Or if you look at a shirt and immediately stretch it. It's the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah, when people grab a print and be like, oh, look, the durability, and they just put way more pressure than your body would ever put on it. It's
so crazy, dude. Like we do that here for like testing purposes, but you should never, it's not good for the fabric under it. I mean, and people will be like, yeah, you can stretch this. And I'm like, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
So the next time that somebody's eating like a slice of birthday cake here and you walk up and put your finger in it and be like, wow, it's spongy, and just push it, squash it down to the plate to make up.
There's no crumb to this. CC Campus Ministry said, thanks for the last order you sent us. Great quality work. You are very welcome.
Thank you so much. Who was that? CC's?
CC.Campus Ministry.
Is that like, does CC's Pizza have a campus ministry?
I think it's.
We talked about CC's Pizza last week. That's why I say that. But yes. Yeah, we get a ton of different customers, and we appreciate all you guys. I love it. I do like it that when anybody who has a community around them, like a lot of people don't realize that churches do really well with merchandise. You know, they're creating community, they're creating a level of belonging and identity. And the more than not, people don't think about that around their brands as much as they should. Way more now than often. But that's why you see so many cool Trinity bars or all the different kind of like Comic Cons there are out there. It could be a video game store. You know, anytime where someone's like a fan of the brand, then they'll wear the T-shirt, especially if it's a cool T-shirt. So I like it when the random salon wants to get T-shirts made, but they do it in the right way to where it looks like it belongs with that scene and people who are interested in the hair and world or whatever. So yeah, if you have a fan of a niche thing, then you have companies around those things usually, and those companies need to be branding back into that community. So that's really my passion. I get more excited about that than anything else when people make specific merchandise for people or groups or communities that you would not think would be merchandised, and or when you merchandise them out of their style a little bit or all the way. I mean, we were just making a joke the other day about doing a skit about how we make companies look cool, and we have like an investment company. Like we chose Hillshire Investments. I don't know why we chose that one, but what if we made this fictitious company and did like a death metal shirt, said Hillshire Investments on it, had like money on flame, coins on fire or something like that, or like a landscaping company looked like ICP, kind of like, and about like just like grass, you're gonna get cut, and just have it kind of be like a little tough
with clowns.
So then they come and mow your lawn and they got ICP face paint on. Yeah, those are the kind of companies that need to be made. People will talk about you if you mow lawns with Juggalo
clown makeup on. Mike Camp said, "How did the company start? How did it grow? What's the future look like?"
Yeah, the company started with. I'll give you the long and short version of it. I used to be in a band touring. I noticed that music sales were going away because I was in a band touring from around 2000, 2006 kind of time. And so downloading was starting to happen. So I realized that merchandise was the way to go. So I was interested. Already was getting some T-shirts made, but then we went all in and started getting way more T-shirts than probably most bands probably should take on the tour with them. Now we would have like sometimes 15 something designs at one time as a small band. And so the person who was making my T-shirts, we got together and we're like, hey, I'm stopping the band. So when the band stopped, I moved into doing an idea for making merchandise for other people. Because I knew that back then the need was the retail quality. There were so many people trying to figure out, how do I look as good as the bigger bands and all that kind of stuff. So my mission was to figure out how to, at a smaller scale, provide that kind of look for everybody. So that's how we started. And, I used the contacts from the bands to grow. And then here in the Southeast, we have lots of churches. And my background's in marketing. That's what I did. So I kind of combined all those things together to start Terminus, And so that's how it started. And here we are. Is it 17 years later now or something or so?
I've been here for 9. Yeah.
It's weird. The first couple of years of a business, it's hard to say that you were a business back then. But it's the same way about a band too. You know what I mean? I remember when we were touring, like the day that the rapcore band POD got really big on MTV, and everybody's like, new band POD, and they'd been a band for 10 years. We had already played with them at like smaller shows and festivals. And I was like, they're not new, but to the world they were. It's just funny just seeing like, here's a band that you guys have known for 10 years that is brand new. Because in the first stages of starting anything, you're building it, you're finding your own identity as a brand, or a band for that matter. A brand is a band is just a musical brand. That's pretty much it. And they actually sell more T-shirts than a brand normally can. They're a musical clothing line.
Yeah. Rye Beats said, "What up?"
Who did?
Rye Beats.
Well, thank you.
And then Drew said, "You guys look cute."
There's Drew. We found him. He's taking the day off today. He said he was going to go and just something about spinning around in the forest, like doing pirouettes. Pirouettes.
Those them cookie straws.
No, I thought a pirouette is like a ballet move.
What's the cookie straws called?
Something that sounds like that. I probably get the other way confused when people say that word. But yeah, Drew said he needed to go into the woods and just dance
like Lady Gaga.
and just shine. Something about shining. Not like the Stephen King style, just like
Actually sparkle.
Yeah, like with glitter. Yeah. Something about your outer glow needs to match your inner glow. So that's why Drew's often covered in glitter. He's not on camera a lot because it's hard to light that. But if you were here at Terminus a lot, you'd be surprised at how sparkly and glitterful.
Like a shiny Pokemon. He's a rare catch.
Like a clothed stripper.
Yeah.
That's what Drew is. So, yeah, Drew's out just sparkling the day away. That's weird to be like, I'd like to use some of my PTO just to go dance and shine and sparkle.
Thank you, Mike Campa. You take care too.
Who?
The guy that has asked us all these questions.
Oh, sorry guys, I probably shouldn't be so like, what was that? But anyways, what else is going on with you guys?
Yeah, speak up. We're still giving away some free teas. Friday is still young. We got about 6 minutes left. We're coming up on an hour or so.
Yeah, it's been fun. These things get so long sometimes.
I'm gonna go eat some Taco Bell. I'm pretty excited about that.
Interface what I just said. It doesn't get long. It actually feels very short. I'm having a blast.
Well, yeah, it feels short, but we've been going for almost 43 minutes.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? You think we should do shorter and maybe more times in a week, or just randomly? We're still figuring it out. I'm just having a good time. I tell people all the time to quit trying to figure out what to do and start doing, because you'll figure it out. That's how you figure out what to do is to do.
That's my life.
Yep.
Every day.
So if you are trying to figure out what to do with your company and stuff like this, any kind of ideas like this, just first thing you do is start doing. And that's a very frustrating thing to hear. Sometimes I get that, but just start it with 1 or 2 or 3. Sometimes I look at this, I'm like, oh, we had a few people watching us, but when I go back and look at the analytics on like the full video, I'll be like, oh, I think there was only like, 10 people at any given time or something like that. But then you look back and there's 290 people who spent over a few minutes watching. So I appreciate any of you who stick around for the whole thing. But even if you're hanging out just for a moment, hopefully you're having fun. And and this is being multicasted around the world. Actually, technically everything is.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
We're going to end up on weird TikTok somehow.
Yeah. That's the one thing that they haven't introduced into our software. We use a software that basically is pushing this video on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter X.
Geosites, MySpace,
Yep.
Zanga.
Angel Fire, the whole place. I always say Angel Fire because that was the very first website I ever created. Was it Angel Fire?
Really?
Mm-hmm. For my band. It was awesome.
Kingdom Ink says, question on glitter ink, what screen to use? Very, very low mesh. Like a 60 or a 40. Literally a screen door. The biggest holes you can find. Because that glitter flake is sticky and you want a big old open mesh and stroke it a bunch. Then flash it and stroke it again. Yeah,
all you got to do. It's like ripping and tearing,
exactly like ripping and tearing.
flashing and stroking.
I've done some I've done some pretty wild stuff with glitter. One time we couldn't find no one.
I thought you meant like
No,
you've done some stuff for some glitter.
we actually had to, so we couldn't find any of the specific glitter the customer wanted. They wanted like a red glitter flake with a transparent, translucent base. At the time, nobody that I knew or websites that I visited had this specific thing. They wanted like a ruby red slipper type deal. But they wanted it as like an overlay. So it was a weird scenario. So what we did was, me and my buddy, we left here at 5 o'clock, went to Michael's, bought glitter, like big thick flake, brought it back here. We were printing, so we did clear base, flash, clear base, and as we didn't, before we sent it down the dryer, we were standing there with newspaper and boxes, and we were shaking glitter onto the wet base and sending it down the dryer. And so yeah, that's one of those wacky efforts that we do. Yeah, we've done some weird stuff to fulfill someone's dreams of red glitter shirts. But true story, not even making that up. That was years ago, but man, I'll remember it forever.
Yeah, I haven't dealt with too much glitter in the print world. A while ago, people were wanting foil a whole lot, but like weird. It was back in the Affliction T-shirt phase, but they just wanted like speckles of the shirt done in foil, not like a font in foil.
Yeah, it's like the design, and then the background is like muted grays and whites, and then like foil just in places.
Yeah.
I'm not too keen on.
Does that mean they have to screen print a layer of something to keep it from foiling on certain places?
Well, you mix non-adherent additive into the plastisol.
Yeah, because the foil additive is just a glue, basically.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Because a lot of those were like super, super vintagey prints. You know, it's like either light grays or whites, just printed on high mesh and with a lot of reducer in it.
Well, guys, it's been a great day hanging out with you guys. I hope you guys are having fun with halftones and all the printing stuff. Today's been an extra good print episode. I don't know if we talked about food much at all.
No, we didn't talk about
You said
food.
you used peanut butter jelly as an analogy.
Yeah,
yes?
That was a good analogy. I'm proud of that. Orange
I
peels.
do. Yeah. So if you have any questions about what we talked about, feel free to ask in direct messages. You can call us if you want to. Text us, show up at our house. We'll talk to you.
Yeah.
We love it. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good day, and we're having a good day. Had a blast hanging out with you guys. Just make sure you keep doing what you're doing, ripping and tearing, and have a awesome weekend, guys. See ya.
Drew said